as a result of COVID, a lot of leaders, a lot of employees in general are or have been in a virtual setting. And even though I think a lot of people will end up going back to the office, I think we're going to have much more flexible environments where some of your time will certainly be virtual. And so you're going to need to get more comfortable leading and communicating and collaborating in a virtual world. So do you have any thoughts on developing executive presence in a virtual world where you're just looking at a screen and talking into a microphone?
Yeah, boy. Listen, I'm going to guess again that every one of your listeners has thoughts about this, both in terms of what they've seen that looks good and what they've seen that's horrible, or their own self-consciousness around it. I mean, I don't know. I heard recently a psychologist talk about video fatigue, and he said, which I thought was interesting, I had not thought of this before, is that one of the reasons we get fatigued is because we are seeing ourselves all day long.
Interesting.
And that has a kind of energy suck to it. Yeah, I heard that and I was like, wow, okay. But I do think that communicating on video is different. I still think things like short sound confident are going to transcend. But then there's also the video piece of it. So for example, I'm talking to someone about doing a presentation skills training for his team over video, which is not like the old days, right? I mean, it's not like I'm going to walk in with a video camera and we're going to do video feedback. It doesn't work that way on video, on virtual.
Yep.
But here's here's what he said was the challenge for his team is they have to present to the CEO, who is a very smart man. And he said, look, the instant they put up a slide, he's read it and is ready for the next slide. He's not listening anymore. And he said it didn't happen the same way in a room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a boardroom where the expanse was bigger. But he said the CEO in some ways has the opportunity to kind of gather information differently and move on. And what a problem that is. That's an interesting challenge to have of how fast do you dispense information to other people on video? How close do you actually want to be to your camera, right? Because it really is like I'm very close to you. All those things I think are hard. And what I am finding is they are not the same in every culture. That's what I'm finding is different teams run their videos differently, which is interesting. There's one team that I work with, Jacob. I don't know if you've seen this, where one of the members of the team, kind of like a secretary, is actually managing the call and putting people on Spotlight and taking them off Spotlight, or managing the screen share, so that, like, by the way, the call that I was on, she did not let slides burn for very long. She would put up a slide, the person would be talking, and she would take it down pretty fast so we could watch the person. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I was, that the sharing was going on and off and on and off. So I think there's lots of ways to manage it and be creative, to kind of think like a filmmaker.
And it's interesting because I think there's even some stuff in a virtual or having a virtual executive presence that most people don't even think of in person. For example, having a good quality microphone, having a good quality camera. I've attended or have seen some meetings and sessions delivered by executives who in person have an amazing executive presence. They're great at commanding the room. They have that gravitas, but they're delivering a virtual all hands meeting to their team. And they have this, the shades are open behind them. So there's a big bright light behind them. So they appear as a silhouette. They're a little blurry maybe. They're using a regular laptop mic, so you can't hear everything super clear. And the message and that entire executive presence is just totally lost because all you see in front of you is somebody who is not adept at using technology to get their message across. And I think it hurts the leader dramatically. It hurts the team as well.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think the lighting thing is a big thing, Jacob. As young actors, what we were taught was, if you are not standing in your light with light on your face, the audience cannot hear you. That's what young actors get taught. And by the way, it's true. And there's a whole thing in the theater where actors are told, quote, find your light. And what it means, you feel literally the heat of the light in your eyes, but it's not in your eye line. You have to feel it. Well, it's amazing how many people do not have any idea what it means to find your light. And so their face is in shadow, and it actually is harder to hear them. It's harder to
Yeah.
understand them because we can't see their lips anymore.
Yep.
By the way, it's one of the problems with masks, right? Is that children cannot see our lips, so they often cannot understand us in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.